When I'm walking down the street.
I do want to say to Doni and many of you in this room that over a very long career in this city, all of you have helped me and my colleagues tell the truth and to try to tell.
I may not look like you and you me, but
my head up.
I'm South Carolina, so I just
gotta be you.
What does this event mean to you, Miss Peggy Mars?
Oh, my heart,
Happy 20th anniversary.
my heart is about loving up on my sisters. Do you know what it feels like to have your sisters in the room? Done.
Gotta be me and gotta be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. I am beautiful, I am blessed, but not just what you see in the flesh. I'm free from people, free from myself. There's a
The doctor lived next door to the janitor, to the reverend, and the lawyer. We were together. Now we get so high and mighty that you create stress for your society because you don't like poor black folks either. That's a health problem. Get yourself together so I can stop being taking care of geriatric people and get back to pediatrics. I thank you, Doni, for all you've done. Let's keep doing it for all the more.
letting His glory shine through. Gotta be you, gotta be me, gotta be different and unique. I'm gonna be the best me I can be by letting His glory shine through. And I dare you, I dare you, I dare you to be you.
First name's Doni, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. What a beautiful day in the neighborhood. So we have talked about on occasion our Park Heights community. And having lived in Park Heights with family from Park Heights, there's so much that I personally love about Park Heights. I mean, including the Lord's Church located at 5010 Park Heights Avenue, where the very fine Bishop Kevia Elliott is the pastor emeritus, if I'm not mistaken. Very dear God brother. And over the years, I've had a chance to see the evolution. As a matter of fact, they have some of the best jerk chicken at Max's in the 3600 block of Rogers Avenue, 3603, right off of Park Heights. And Max has been a fixture there. First met him at Mike's spot, the Royal Maroon, which is now shifted to what's it shifted to, Shymaine? Blue Caribbean.
Blue Caribbean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Blue Caribbean. And tasty food. I remember getting a lot of dishes from there some years back from the Trinity spot. But nonetheless, we have Shymaine Davis with us. Good morning, Shymaine. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, another fixture in the Park Heights community, we'd have to say, would be George Mitchell. Would you agree?
I would agree.
For those who didn't know George, who was he to you, Shymaine?
Well, before we go into that, I got to give you one more shout out, a fixture of food in the Park Heights community, and that's KT's, the best fish sub and the best bean pie. So I just wanted to give that shout out.
Now, where's KT's?
KT's is right on, oh, this is terrible. I don't know their address, but they're right on Park Heights, right below Rogers.
So not far from Max's?
Nope, not right down the street.
Right, you know, with Max's, there are other stores on Rogers, other Caribbean-owned businesses. So is that? Tell me about that block. The 36.
KT's is not Caribbean. That you getting good soul food. They have phenomenal soups. KT, I'm gonna get the address before we get off.
Okay.
Because you will not regret it. Delicious.
KT's. So what is your favorite dish there?
I like the fish sub, the chicken noodle soup, and the bean pies. So he just don't do traditional bean pies. He mix in the blueberries. It's it just take it to another level. See, you get me hungry now this morning. Okay, let me back on the subject at hand. But Mr. Mitchell, he was a force to be reckoned with. And you know, it's interesting how I first met Mr. Mitchell was actually through the councilwoman Sharon Green Middleton's office. And he had been talking for years about how his vision, he wanted a library in Park Heights, but didn't have the infrastructure behind it. So someone connected my career path. I'm a CPA, I'm an accountant. So they said, okay, we're going to help support Mr. Mitchell and getting everything built up. My first meeting with Mr. Mitchell was at Applebee's. He believed the only way you're going to meet is over food. We got a fellowship and see what type of person you are first. Now, I'm an accountant. I'm a true introvert. I want to come in, you tell me what the problem, let me solve the problem, let me get out. He sat me down. 2 hours later, Mr. Mitchell sold me. He told me, he was like, look, we don't have much money, but I believe that we can get this library in Park Heights.
Now, I got to tell you, I remember when living in Park Heights, a library right across the street from where I lived at Garrison and Park Heights. As a matter of fact, I taught GED classes there.
Wow.
Briefly, and then it flipped over into something else. And I think it's gone altogether now.
Yeah. I remember it being a daycare or some type of
daycare center.
Yeah.
And there was also a hardware store there.
It was. Yeah. Yeah.
I worked there too.
Wow.
and I might as well throw in my favorite, non-favorite of Park Heights, Palmer Court. Oh my God. Murphy Homes, Lexington Tires, Flag House. Y'all tough, but let me tell you something. That was the wild, wild west. I ain't trying to go there and start nothing, but Palmer Court was no chump. Anyway, I digress. So,
I digress.
I remember Palmer Court.
Okay, wait a minute. I wanted to give you the address. Uh-oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I want to give you the address of KT's Kitchen, 5410 Park Heights Avenue.
5410 KT's. And that's the soul food spot with the fish sandwich and the mean bean pies with all kinds of variations, including blueberries in the bean pie. What did Nation of Islam think about that? Okay. All right. KT's. All right.
KT's.
So tell me more about, let me tell you.
And you're going to get good conversation, good people.
I remember as the pandemic unfolded, and I just hit, because food, I hope we are paying attention about the scarcity of food. But living down here in Sandtown, there were very little options, very little food options. And so I made my way up there to the Jewish market on 7 Mile Lane. And they were looking at me and I was looking at them, and I was steadily picking up food. They were looking at me and I was looking at them. I was coming there to get my food. And I was coming back down the road and coming around Reisterstown Road, right at the bend where Langston Hughes is. I saw all of these people in line. I was like, wow. And I had to get out and see what it was all about. Who was behind this? And there he was in all of his glory. George Mitchell giving orders, pointing fingers. Matter of fact, Senator Barbara Robinson's daughter was working at Eureka. Yeah, she had some commentary for me that I will never forget. But it was she a little bully too, and I had to put that jab on her. You know, I ain't put my hands on her, but you had to just back up. Jerika was call herself digging in my case, being all overprotective of her mom. Her mama ain't need her help. But anyway, they both love George Mitchell also.
Yeah.
Tell me about that food giveaway.
let me tell. Okay, so I'm gonna go back before Langston Hughes. We were giving away food at Edgecombe Circle. Now it's Park Heights Academy, and he galvanized the community. Said, "Look, we shouldn't have anybody hungry in our community."
Is that behind the church, the Catholic Church?
The Edgecombe
Uh-huh.
Elementary.
Where's that?
So that's coming up. I used to take Green Spring, right where I don't even know what it was kept. What that street? DuPont or Du
The school on the hill?
on the hill. Mm-hmm. It's
Okay.
right in the middle of the community. It's Park Heights Academy now. And we
Okay.
used to give away the food in the trailers.
Back in the day,
So
was this Green Spring Middle School, junior high?
not the one, not Green Spring, up from that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But they yeah, so it was on a smaller scale, but he developed a relationship with the Maryland Food Bank, and you know, Mr. Mitchell, there was no stranger. If you said you had something that he needed, all right, come on, we need it in Park Heights. And that's how this movement started. And I think what really drew me in is anything that he was doing. He's like, all right, I need you to come here. I want you to see who we serving and what the need is. And he didn't believe you don't turn anybody away. He was like, if they say they need 2 boxes, we're going to give them 2 boxes of food. So let's fast forward when we acquired the building here at Langston Hughes. And of course, you know, prior to the pandemic, we were rolling with the food pantry. But when the pandemic hit and they forced us to shut the building down, we had a very honest conversation. Like, damn, you know, what do we do? He said, we got to go old school. We're going to go back on the parking lot. We're going to give the food away on the parking lot because people need it more so now than ever. So the partners were coming in, Salvation Army, Maryland Food Bank, all of the food, anybody with the food, was it World Central Kitchen? We were giving out hot plates, and the community stepped up. That's what makes this so special here at Langston Hughes. This is not somebody from the outside in coming in. This is all community driven. So what Mr. Mitchell, he built a legacy. All I'm doing is putting the strategy behind this and moving it forward. He have all the soldiers, everybody in place.
So how is the transition from being an introverted CPA to being an extroverted community activist? How has that been for you? What's that experience like?
Well, let me just say, I've been born and raised in Baltimore. So, you know, as you adapt in Baltimore, you know how to show both sides. And I don't come from a particular community. My mom was a young mom. We moved every 2 years. So I have lived just about everywhere there's to live in West Baltimore, and did a couple of tour duties in Dundalk and over there at Sedonia. So I've never finished one school, elementary, middle, and high school. I've gone at least to 3 to 4 schools. So I knew how to adapt. And I've even lived in Park Heights. So when I spoke with Mr. Mitchell, I said, I'm gonna be honest, Mr. Mitchell, my grandmom, what I claim is over there, White Lock, which now is Reservoir Hill. But I grew up, my grandma was always on Callow Avenue. I said, so I'm not really from Park Heights. I've lived over here. And I told him my story. He said, oh, you home then. So I've always been, and throughout all those transitions, Baltimore has taken care of me. The village has taken care of me no matter where I was. So I've always been committed to community work, regardless if I was working in it directly, but I'm always behind the scenes because this is how I made it to where I am. So a lot of people took care of me and looked after me.
I'm a witness, same here. I never had a problem in Park Heights. Never. I've had some challenges maybe on North Avenue, East Baltimore, West, but Park Heights, never, ever had a problem.
Yeah.
Strong Caribbean roots. Tell me about the Caribbean roots to Park Heights. I tell you, one of my pet peeves with the city of Baltimore, way beyond this mayor, is how the Caribbean community is treated during the Preakness. Now, 2 years ago, someone had a brilliant idea. I think it was Michael Johnson, to have a street festival, at least, and I was not there because if you know anything about the Preakness, you know you're gonna get stuck up in some serious traffic. But I've worked the Preakness. My first time working the Preakness as a security guard, I found $100. So I mean, I got nothing but love for the Preakness. But I've always been troubled by the fact that the Caribbean businesses, in a large part, hold down Park Heights through the year, and then when the Preakness comes, to me, they are ostracized. You can't park in front of their business. You cannot support the businesses that hold that community down 364 days of the year. Your thoughts, Shymaine?
So I'm gonna come from a different angle. I told you I'm a numbers person. The Preakness, I don't even know. I can't. Let's just say this is a multi-million dollar event that comes into the heart of the city every year, and it brings in millions of dollars right there. I do believe the small businesses around this multi-million dollar, they should be taken care of first. However, I think it does have to be a joint effort with the city, it has to be that engagement. One of the things when they were threatening to take the Preakness away a few years back, and Mr. Mitchell was very vocal about it, I said, you know, it's disheartening that this is I don't know why when you come in Park Heights, you will see people in the community previously. They were charging for waters. They were allowing people to park in their houses. They were allowed to make money off of it just by living around there. The last time, I'm gonna say, I didn't drive through down here this year, this last year, but the year before, it's almost like they're banning the community from supporting and making money off of Preakness.
How does that make you feel, Shymaine?
It's heartbreaking because it's a lot of small business owners that's right here. Park Heights is rich with business owners here.
You know, we had on the show.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, but the amount of money that Black folks spend, even in our own community, it's no reason these businesses should be struggling. No.
When I go to Atlanta and I see when you go to West End in Southwest Atlanta, they call it the SWAT. When you go to Midtown, even when you hit the airport, there is this expectation that Blacks will be in charge, that Blacks will be benefiting. And that if we are not benefiting, somebody's on the case to find out why, so that we will be benefiting. There's this expectation when you go to Harlem that someone is running things, whether it's the Harlem Business Alliance, whether it's a person like Walter Edwards, who I call the godfather of Harlem, whether it's just regular everyday people, and not always just African-American. There's a very strong Senegalese population, there's a Caribbean population, but there's this mentality that Harlem represents Black owned. Yeah. So in Baltimore, a majority African-American city, some 63% Black, 73% Black and brown, when we have a plethora of Black elected officials on the federal level, Kwesi's up there in Congress, on the state level, everything from the governor to the treasurer, and I know I'm preaching to the choir, to the Speaker of the House, all the way down to the Black mayor, the Blackity-Black mayor, the Blackity-Black city council president, the Blackity-Black comptroller. I want to know, why in the hell are we still behind the 8 ball? Why is it that everybody else benefits, even down to the damn lottery, which initially came on board to provide money for education? Why do we have Blacks in all of these positions, and yet Atlanta or even DC, Maynard Jackson in Atlanta, Marion Barry in DC, They made sure black people were taken care of with the money. Why do we get so stupid in Baltimore? Why are these black elected officials who are constantly seeing the news not bringing back the bacon? And why do we keep voting for them?
So our vote is worth something. We got to demand what we want when we electing these officials in. But can I go back to the Caribbean community? Because you did prompt something when you said that. And it's interesting. They probably a couple years ago, they had a big Caribbean festival outside on the field. And these were young men. So he told me it's going to be about 3,000 people, and they're having Caribbean artists. So I said, look, my main concern is the community. I don't want to, block I don't want anybody parking in front of somebody's house. And, I told them the concerns. I can't have any, no disruption, blah, blah, blah. The young man came to me. He said, look, this is my community. We got this. We got it. When we walked through that Caribbean festival, every vendor in there was Caribbean. Everybody was making money on that field. They were giving back to their own and building up. And guess what? It was no disruptions. And they took care of it. So what I'm saying that to say, I don't know if we can wait for even our elected officials to save us. We can make our demands, but we got to galvanize within our community and say, whatever we need, if Doni has this, I'm going to get all my stuff from Doni. I'm getting toilet paper from you. I'm getting this from that. We got to use our resources in our community, spend our money in our community.
Shymaine, I don't know if you noticed, but about 2011, so that's what, 13 years ago, we started these Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Awards. We've given away over 2,500 where we celebrate black entrepreneurs and professionals, as well as the people who support them regardless of race, in 9 U.S. cities. And let me tell you, when we go to Atlanta, when we go to Harlem, New Orleans, Richmond, Virginia, home of Maggie Walker and Jackson Ward, we get so much love. We acknowledge, and I also wrote a book, actually 2 books, my shameless self-promotion. The one in question is I Am Black Wall Street.
I like it. Okay, can I get a signed copy?
Yes, you can. Unapologetically Black. Matter of fact, we'd love to do a book signing in Park Heights, and I'll bring some books that I will give to some of your young people. But what I'm getting to is that, like you said, we are rich. We are rich beyond measure, especially when we work together. And you have just dispelled a myth. I was in a meeting with some men. It was a men's support group. And this one older brother, I'm 58. This cat was about 68. And he kept saying, we don't stick together. We don't stick together. I said, brother, you need to do some traveling. You need to do some moving around, because I have seen us support each other. And not just here in Baltimore. Everywhere I go, there's some people who get it. They automatically get it. There's a George Mitchell in every black community across the land. But we've been brainwashed into thinking the white man's ice is colder, that white people stick together, that Asians stick together. If we understood basic history, we know that the Chinese and the Japanese are not best friends, that the Chinese and the Taiwanese are not best friends, that the Chinese and the Koreans are not best friends. But we have this mentality because we've been so traumatized and so beat up. We think all of us are beat up, and it's not true. Get a damn passport, son. You got a fan here. You know Jim Peterson? You got the banker mind. You got the banker mind. That's my banker, Jim Peterson.
Yes, good people. Good people.
We have the ability to transform Baltimore. You got P. David Bramble redoing Harbor Place. I think that's probably one of the biggest victories of a Brandon Scott administration. But I digress. Let me give you back the floor. Tell me more.
Okay. So now let's fast forward here. Over at Langston Hughes, we've grown where we exceeded just the food pantry. We keep that on. As a matter of fact, we're growing where we may go back to weekly. We're getting so many resources, and we partnered up with other organizations. So we partnered up with We Are Us, and we just get, we're just extremely blessed. So as soon as we get the food, we disseminate it. So with that, we also have like after school programs that we're working on, that we partner with other organizations, mental health. We have substance abuse for the youth in here. We have a high-tech IT lab where we're doing the cyber security, the gaming, the build your own laptop. Every time a student participates in that IT, they leaving home with a laptop.
Wow. I guess you'll be back in a moment. We're talking with Shymaine Davis up in Park Heights. She has taken George Mitchell's vision to a whole other level. Jim Peterson, good to hear from you. Good to see you. We got to get you on the show. And of course, we got to get you some coverage. Thank you for all that you do. So this is proof positive that beautiful things do happen in our community. And it's up to us to spread the word. It's up to us to illuminate and lift up these entities. If we don't lift it up, nobody else will. So I thank God for this opportunity to have this platform, Black USA. On that note, special thank you to Mr. Michael Haney, who has been a huge supporter of Black USA ever since we started broadcasting back in December 2020. This is an extension, if you will, of BeMoreNews.com. We have shows on this network, not just from Baltimore, but also Washington, D.C., including Beverly Smith, shows from Oakland, including the Black Business Roundtable with Mr. Doug Blacksher, and our most notable New Yorker, Tashmere Gathers, has moved from New York City to the DMV. So she's now a Marylander. And so as she gets her babies ready for school and the transition to school, she'll be coming back within the next month or so. We also have some new talent on our network, Rodney Barris, and Rodney has been holding it down. We've reconnected thanks to our very dear friend Pam Perry out in Detroit, Michigan. Pam Perry PR. Pam has hooked us up with some other talent from the Midwest, including Judge Leonia Lloyd, and we got to get Judge Leonia Lloyd back on the show. Of course, she worked with a number of Motown legends and music artists from Detroit. So stay tuned. We're looking forward to a very powerful 2024. We can do anything we put our minds to, whether it's in Maine, whether it's in Florida, whether it's in Washington State or California or anywhere in the middle. We assure you that we will be doing our best to bring you positive stories, upbeat and newsworthy people who are making a difference in the community, something we all can do. You don't have to be the greatest basketball player or the greatest accountant or the greatest lawyer. Be everyday people, because I think back to when the riots happened here in Baltimore, the Freddie Gray unrest. The very next day, as horrific as that night was, the night of the riots here in Baltimore, 2015, especially if you knew anything about the 1968 riots, it was the ugliest feeling ever. A car just down the street was on fire. But the very next day, Baltimore showed up. Baltimore showed up. We cleaned up. You know, we put the seniors at ease. I remember asking myself the night of the riots, should we leave? Should we get the hell out of Sandtown? Then I thought about it. Hell no, this is my community. You're not going to chase me out of my community. People were upset. The whole world was watching. This community right here, Penn North, Sandtown. But with resilience, with love and faith in our city, we pulled together, we rallied, and we healed. And I remember this too. We had some outside provocateurs from other cities, black and white, who had ill intentions. But nonetheless, Baltimore, you know, we regrouped, pulled ourselves together, black and white, Jew and Gentile. I even remember the Jewish Times interviewing me about the provocateurs who came here disguised as sheep, but they were really wolves. I remember people dropping off concrete in the streets of downtown Baltimore at intersections, hoping that we would pick up these pieces of concrete and start busting windows. And so despite the negative influences, love still prevailed. Goodness still prevailed. A lot of people showed up at Penn North. We hadn't been to Penn North in 10, 15 years, including politicians, black politicians. I remember Larry Hogan, Governor Hogan, coming to Penn North. And what's his name? Marshall Bell later got mad at me for telling the truth, but Larry Hogan did come. I never said that Larry Hogan stopped the riots at Penn North, but Marshall Bell called himself getting a couple of brownie points on Facebook, trying to paint me a certain way. And let me tell you something else, black people. A lot of people don't know this. I don't know if you've been down North Avenue lately. Because in this city, in this 9-1 Democratic city, and this is no plug at all for Trump, I am not a Trump supporter. But I will say here in the state of Maryland, when I think of Bob Ehrlich, whom one of my mentors called a spear thrower for Newt Gingrich, because that was his track record up until that point. I remember his lieutenant governor, Michael Steele. I remember they had 10-foot signs all around the community that were put up. The Republicans have done more on West North Avenue to help develop the black community than all of the Democrats combined. Because as Dr. Michael Zollicoffer says at the beginning in the intro clip for this show, that we don't like poor black people. We don't like poor black people. And so when Shymaine and George Mitchell and the likes and their likes are up in Park Heights helping everyday people, despite the racetrack impact funds that was supposed to bring millions upon millions of dollars to Park Heights because of that Preakness, and we barely can get a damn a bag of confetti at a festival, when you block the people from being able to make money selling their real estate or renting their real estate for people needing parking, it baffles me. I remember going to a meeting in Park Heights, actually in Mount Washington. Michael Haney was there, and what's that little chick name? Rhonda Wimbish. Got a lot to say, a lot of times. Sometimes negative, makes somebody want a G checker, but we don't do that. But she was right on this occasion. They brought people, 95% of these people in this room, in this private house, were white, 95%. Wimbish, Michael Haney, and myself, the only blacks in there besides the lady that worked for one of the delegates, I think Sandy Rosenberg. They're having a meeting about the future of Park Heights. Bill Cole, who was at the time running, what was it? Baltimore Development Corporation. He was there. And when they found out that I was there, the journalists, they said, Bill Cole said, we are not having a meeting about the future of Park Heights. Yes, you are. And this is what happens when an Elijah Cummings endorses a Bill Cole to represent the black community. I know you don't want to hear it because a lot of people have this fictitious image of some of our people. But the fact is, as hard as it is to get black representation, as hard as it was to get black representation in the black community, in this 63% black, 73% black and brown community, when you're giving away your power, just like with Question P some years ago diminished our 3-member districts. That's when you had 3 city council people all working together for one district. Now you have 14 single-member districts. We had a 9% reduction in black power, political power. When you have our black elected officials giving away the very power that was so hard earned by the people like, who's that judge? Judge Howard, I think it was Joe Howard, out of Iowa, who won the first citywide election. When you have these people who have been fighting for us to get this power, and then you got blacks who come along willy-nilly just giving away our power, it sickens me to my core. We're being rejoined by Shymaine. Well, we didn't get too black for you, did we? Okay, here we go.
Oh no, I think they got scared. We're going down the road talking about some good stuff here.
Shymaine, tell me about what black elected officials have stepped up to the plate for you?
Well, I can say when we started this journey, we started through Mayor Dixon's administration. That's where the discussion started. And then it went through 4 other mayors. So who ended up getting us through the finish line was Mayor Young. But we did have to, every single time we had to meet to each mayor, and under Mayor Scott, he did the final signature. So our Councilwoman Sharon Green Middleton, has been extremely supportive over this transition over here in Park Heights. I have to give a shout out to Delegate Bilal Ali. He was our first trailblazer in getting us some bond mills. So once we received the building, we're like, all right, we need some money to repair it. I mean, and he was a huge advocate.
Go ahead, Bilal Ali. Salam alaikum.
I love him. Yes. And then we have Senator Carter, Senator Jill Carter. She's been supportive with the delegates, with giving us this last, in 2021, we received some bond. So I don't know. I just met with brother Delegate Malcolm Ruff. He's from the Park Heights community, and he's pledged his support and making sure that we have the resources for the community.
I love me some Malcolm Ruff. You know he worked down there with Billy Murphy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have a standout attorney also.
Yeah. Yep.
Very proud, and he has some wonderful events at his home. What's the name of that? Is that West Arlington?
West Arlington. Mm-hmm. And I haven't been to his home, but he said he's not too far from here.
Oh yeah, he's just over there by the subway station, by Wabash.
Okay.
But he's giving some mean events at his house. Oh my God, everybody shows up.
Oh, okay. Well, Doni, I didn't make the VIP list. I didn't make the list.
Well, we're gonna make that happen. And you say you do know we are us, so that means that you know my god brother Bishop Elliott.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not a big name dropper. I'm all about the work, Mr. Glover. I like to, let's go in. If we grinding together, let's go. So yeah, it's a lot of I can say we have a lot of support over here. And from the brothers, outside of Bishop Elliott, even the mosque have been extremely supportive. So, yep, everybody's been really showing up. And
did you ever meet Melvin Bilal before he went home? Melvin Bilal, he was with the Muslim community. He had done a lot of work up there. He was an attorney, but I am proud that despite, so let me ask you this. Do you know anything about the racetrack impact funds?
Yes. So we have been a recipient of the racetrack impact funds.
Good.
Probably last cycle. We did just put in another request for award this past cycle for the upcoming award, I think 2025. So I'm gonna tell you my personal, of course it's a mixed views when you're using the percentage of gambling funds, and when this was put on the ballot to say, okay, we're going to support XYZ community. I mean, it's the same thing with the stadium funds, and that certain things were supposed to go towards early childhood education. And so I'm always, and again, this is me personally, I'm always a little perplexed when we say a percentage of funds are going to a particular cause, because it's hard to monitor for accountability and transparency.
That's why they set it up like that, so it could be fudgy. Just like the damn speed cameras. How come the speed cameras are always in our community, but you go to other communities, you'll see they be just speeding in other communities. But our community, we got speed cameras every damn where.
Please talk about that because I got a bunch of tickets I need to pay now. But you're right. You're right. But wait a minute, before we get off the impact fund, I do want to say that I did witness, I was a part of their, or I was in the audience of their working meeting. I think it was a couple weeks ago. And I will give kudos to Yolanda Jiggets over at Park Heights Renaissance, Senator Antonio Hayes, Delegate Malcolm Ruff. I think Brother Mills is on there. They're very vocal and they advocating for the making sure the community gets the funds. So
you said Brother Mills. You said Brother Mills. Is that R. Anthony Mills?
Yes. So when they were going through the allocation of funds, based on what I observed at this working meeting, I did see it was a lot of discussion just to make sure it was equity and that it was getting to the community as a versus it's just.
And this racetrack impact, these funds, this was established, to my knowledge, like 20 years ago, if not longer.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look at Park Heights and Woodland, because I live right there on what, the 4700 block, then up in the 4900 block. But
okay.
all of that is gone now. It's like, woof. And it kind of makes me feel a similar way, like living down here in Santerre. It's like, are you waiting for all of the black people to move or to die or to get killed before you do something? In hopes, because the way Baltimore and its segregated self operates, the next thing that I expect from the racists are bike lanes. That's usually the telltale sign when they like, I'm looking at your neighborhood and I want it.
So Lester, we can only control what we do as a people. So I'm gonna say for Black folks, the time is now to buy in Park Heights. The time is now. Park Heights Renaissance has earmarked some development money, and they're very intentional in making sure that we have home ownership up here in Park Heights. If we look at that master plan, they've been working on this for a long time.
So while we have you right here, is there a website and a phone number for that people can get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So our website is www.LangstonHughesCBRC. So let me see if I have my, just in case.
.org.
.org.
Langston Hughes CBRC.org. Is there a phone number?
Yep, it's 443-759-8921.
And I want you to know, Shymaine, however our news network can be of service to you, is that right?
That's perfect, yep.
However our news outlet can be helpful to you, we don't just start trouble, but we do try to put the spotlight where Channel 11, Channel 13, Channel 2, Channel 45, the Baltimore Sun, the Baltimore Banner, the Baltimore Brew, where they don't go. And we don't see them at Park Heights and Woodland. I remember Park Heights and Woodland. You got to be thorough. I ain't never had no problems, but you got to be thorough coming through there. Because somebody would definitely pull your card. At the same time, big ups to those many advocates, many of whom are women, who have after school programs and youth programs right there in the Park Heights community, and they've been doing this for the past 30 years.
Yep. Yeah. So we have some sisters. We have Art Javity, Youth Ambassador. That's run by Mama B. We have
that's her name. That's her name. That's the. Is she of Ricerstown Road?
No, she's right here in the center.
In the center. Will Hannah introduced me to a lady. She had an after school program right in her basement.
I don't know if that may have been Glenice Shabazz with that. Because she was in the building previously too, but she shut down her her program during COVID.
So we send our thanks and our love to the many people who have volunteered over the years, because just like I live in 21217, 21215, you've had your share of mass incarceration, of arrests,
Yes.
of health disparities, everything
Yes.
from asthma to HIV to STDs and cancer and all of those things. What keeps you going, Shymaine? What keeps you motivated?
So wait, but before we get into that, I do want to have a quick call to action, because now that you're talking about our ladies, let me amplify for our food pantry. We have 2 men that are doing the heavy lifting. The rest are ladies, and they're retired. And when I went down there, and I usually we speak and check in, they're all retired. And keep in mind, they come here weekly to make sure that we organize and have the food to give out. They told me we need some young people. We need some volunteers. So I just
What
wanted to.
what days?
So we have our food pantry every other Friday. So we had one last Friday. So the next one will be next Friday. But Wednesdays and Thursdays, we get our truck delivery. And that's where we need help with sorting the food and sorting the toiletries once they come off the truck. So I wanted to say.
February 9th, Friday, February 9th.
Is that, yes. Yes.
Okay, February 9th. What time?
2:00. Our food pantry begins at 2:00. We ask our volunteers to get here at 12:00.
At 12 noon.
Yes.
So maybe you and I can come up with a flyer or basic announcement for February 9th.
Yep.
Let's put the address in here. What's the address of Langston Hughes?
It's 5011 Arbutus Avenue.
5011 Arbutus Avenue. And let me just say, we should send this announcement also to our elected officials who are in Annapolis, so they can help get the word out. And anybody else. And we are us. Okay. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Dr. Andre Bunley and Reverend Corey Barnes. I know there are other people involved, but I've always known, of course,
Brother Andrew.
Brother Andrew. Oh my God, can't forget Brother Andrew. My God, his work with returning citizens is just phenomenal. This is a cat who goes over to Baltimore City Jail, Central Booking on a regular basis, and extends his love and help to brothers and sisters. Well, I guess to the sisters, but especially to the brothers. I don't know about the women's part. And we should be mindful of the women dealing with mass incarceration, because Black women are the fastest growing demographic. This country has 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's inmates. We got as many people locked up as China. And they look like us, starring us. And now that we have people advocating for bail reform who didn't realize it would have an adverse effect on us, a cat get locked up, and if he had something from 15, 20 years ago that was violent, he could likely be sitting over central booking 8-9 months before he even go to court. So he come home, he homeless, his girl gone, his clothes gone, everything gone. Yeah. And you got to survive over that jail with these young boys in the gangs who telling you can't use the phone. Yeah. We got to wake up.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how many. I mean, we had our Christmas drive, toy drive, probably around the holiday, and it was a young man. He was just released, and he was coming to get toys. He said he had a 2- and a 4-year-old, and he hadn't been able to see his kids. And he's like, he can't show up empty-handed. And he's like, but he didn't know where else to go. So
tell me about the hopelessness. Tell me some of the hopelessness you have seen in you're there feeding people. And so you, in many cases, I imagine you're dealing with people who are at the end of the line, at the end of their rope, at their wits' end. Mental health, I would imagine, is on the forefront.
Yeah. It definitely is. And we're working to incorporate mental health in everything that we do. So I'm going to tell you the one that was probably the biggest wake up call and really rev this up to say, okay, forget me. We got to get out there and get to moving. I had used to work in the school system, and I was working with a young man from the Park Heights community when he was in middle school. I ran into a couple of the students around here. He's 19 now. I was like, oh my goodness, you've grown up. And he come and bring all his friends. And he was like, they call me Aunt Shy. They say, Aunt Shy, I can't go to school because they don't want me in school. I said, well, they don't want you? He gave me his whole story. He was like, but I just want to do something. I said, well, can you help me clean up this? He picked up the broom, stayed in there all day. I said, well, let me get you something to eat. And we sitting there getting something to eat. Then his homeboys came. He called his homeboys. They came in. I was like, come on, y'all, get something to eat and everything. So every time I would see him, he walking. Every time I see him, okay, you be safe. You hungry? You good? I'm good, Aunt Shy. I'm good. Before the holiday, I got word that baby was murdered. That was the wake-up call. Because that's when it becomes real. I don't care what he was doing in the street. And that's what I told him. I don't care what you're doing, because I don't know what their survival looked like. What I heard the month prior, that his mom wasn't in town, so he was sleeping in an abandoned building. His pride wouldn't let. He couldn't tell a woman that. So I had to send the men, go check on him. Because when I come to him, no, I'm good, Aunt Shy, I'm good. And that baby wasn't good. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me going. I would see that baby over at the gas station, ride up. That's probably that's the hottest gas station around here. He tell me, no, you go here, Aunt Shy, I'm good. I said, no, I want to make sure you're good. I'm good, Aunt Shy. That's what makes, we got to keep going. And it burns me up to no end when people say, oh, those kids, those are our kids. We failed them. That village, when I started off, I told you the village saved me. My mother was working 3 jobs. I was a latchkey kid at 6 years old. My life could have gone completely different. So those kids aren't different than what I was, except I had a village. And the village would say, oh, no, come on, baby. They not saying, oh, no, he bad. Or he should, you see what they doing? No, those are our kids.
Hey, but for the grace of God, there go. But for the grace of God, there go you and I. What about the church in Park Heights? Where is the church?
So I can't speak to the work that they're doing. To be honest, I grew up in Gillis Memorial. That's right over on Park Heights. So I do know they're doing some, I've seen some of the work they're doing within the community. We have a couple of churches around. The one in the back, Zion, they're giving out food as well to the community. And we've had some that come in and say, where they do outreach in the community to go out and to spread the word.
Do you remember when Buford and Garrison had a serious dope corner? Buford and Garrison. Now, this was maybe 25 years ago. And Bishop Elliott's church, it was a lady named Rebecca, and she had a cousin, and I don't want to say the wrong name, but we would go to that corner and have a prayer corner, because I struggled with that addiction too, heroin, cocaine, crack cocaine, all of that. But that was a part of my journey back, just like that young man you were telling me about at the gas station. And I'd come from Sandtown up to Buford and Garrison, and that was a mean dope corner. Let me tell you, they were relentless. They didn't care who was out there. But we actually prayed that dope corner into a normal corner, into a regular corner.
Wow.
Buford and Garrison. Mean dope corner. And so I'm reminded of the power of prayer. I'm reminded that God allows U-turns. I'm reminded of that Bible verse that says, if my people who are called by my name shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, and then will I heal the land. I'm reminded that we have the power to make Park Heights and Sandtown and East Baltimore, Oliver, Greenmount, Patterson Park, Cherry Hill. We have the power, and we have to hold these elected officials accountable. And so on that note, we all should know 396-3100. Everybody listening to this call should know that number. That's the city operator number. You can get anybody who works for Baltimore City, including Mayor Scott, at that phone number, 410-396-3100. We have a General Assembly that is going on right now from mid-January to mid-April. That's where our state senator, we typically have one state senator and 3 delegates, and they are looking over 2,500 bills that could be transitioned into law. And that number for any of your elected officials is 410-841-3000. And we should also know there is a Senate race where there's a black woman, Angela Also Brooks, running against David Trone. And I don't have a horse in that race per se, but I'm reminded that we need to be supporting our own, or at least if we are not going to support our own, we should know why. But we should have a list of who we are going to vote for going in. Just like we all know the Ravens, just like we know the score, just like we know the new offensive coordinator, we need to know the people who we have voted for to represent us at City Hall, in Annapolis, and in Washington, D.C. That's what our obligation is as true Ravens fans. We need to know the people who are representing us in these halls of justice, and because all of these black elected officials, like Atlanta, like D.C., but if they ain't bringing back the money to your neighbor, if you ain't calling them up on the phone, yo, where my money at for my community? then we have failed.
Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir.
Right.
Anything we did not cover? Tell me about, how are the young ladies? Are there any programs for little girls in Park Heights?
We don't have we have Baltimore Sisters. They start at age 9 and up. And they work with the little girls. However, we're looking to partner because it's the little sisters and the little brothers come in. We haven't had many programs for the babies, but they're starting to come in. So we're trying to identify a partner.
I remember years ago, this was as a little kid, Park Heights had some pretty good football camps, football teams, cheerleaders.
Yeah. So we had the Saints. They practiced out of our gym this last season. Actually, they won the national championship down in Florida. So we had the Saints down here. They had their little cheerleading team. They were rocking and rolling. But quiet as it's kept, Mr. Mitchell's thing was baseball. So we're trying to bring back the Black Sox. So we are trying to revive our baseball diamond out there.
So you need some coaches.
We need some coaches, yep. And some guys to help us get that field right.
And they can call that number right there, 443-759-8921. I love the county. A lot of our people have moved from the city to the county, and that's fine. We just want you to come back and put some volunteer hours in, right?
That's it. Yeah.
You ain't got to move back here, and you ain't got to stay past dark, but come back and give some time. Come on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. Or you let us know when you're available. It may not be. Yep. Let us know, and we can, if you don't want to do the physical labor, we have a library. I can say that the sisters of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, they came for the day of service of Martin Luther King. They started organizing the library so we can open that back up. So we have other things, much more than just saying, you may not want to do the food distribution, but you may say, you know what? I'm good at social media, or I'm good at this or that. So yes, we welcome all hands on deck.
Shymaine, we're very proud of you. I'm so glad to have met you and
Likewise.
to know that the work of George Mitchell carries on. And I'm not putting him up there with sainthood, but I mean, considering the work he did, he's right up there with Big Addy, if you will.
Yeah, he really is. Yeah.
Heart of gold, about serving the people.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King said, the richer we become materially, the poorer we become morally and spiritually. We have learned to fly the air like birds and swim the seas like fish, but we have not learned the simple art of living together as brothers and sisters. What's your high school, Shymaine?
Western.
The Western Doves in the house.
Don't say nothing.
I did 2 years at Pilot. We love Western.
Okay.
But I finished as a
different
Dunbar poet.
schools. I also did a term at Doug. I was also a Duck.
Well, now you're talking. You got Dunbar and Douglas in the house, the two oldest black high schools in Baltimore, the only ones that black people could go to. Douglas being the first.
Yep.
Good deal. Shymaine, we thank you. Any final thoughts before we go?
No, I thank you for the platform, and I thank you allowing us to share the great work that we're doing over here in Langston Hughes, and I welcome anybody to come over and visit us. So thank you.
Good deal. George will be proud. Thank you for joining us. Up to day, down tomorrow. Do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper. Good morning, world.